Good morning, Caitlin. You were asking about bonds. What makes the price of bonds go up or down? And your question was when the interest rate drops. When interest rate drops and new bonds are issued at lower interest rates, the bond that you previously purchased at a higher interest rate increases in price. Yes. Allowing you to sell that older bond for a higher price. Yes. You can sell it for a higher price at a profit. You get a higher return. Many people turn to bonds when interest rates go down, also when the stock market is down, because the bond market is an alternative to the stock market. And so if more people turn to bonds, then there's greater demand for bonds. They become more desirable. The price of the bonds go up. Yeah, that makes sense. So allow me to explain the background. I'll also explain the math. Believe me, the math is the simpler way to explain a vague concept of bond prices moving up or down in response to interest rates and inflation. It's a very basic concept, and for you to be able to advance in finance and investments, you need to master inflation rates and purchasing power. It's at the heart of finance and investments. So, um, game, game start. The inflation of 3% means that the prices of goods rise 3% in a year. An inflation of 3% means that you have to pay 103 this year for a product that used to cost 100 last year. If the product now costs 103 this year, this means that you have to pay it with the same old 100 peso bill plus 3 pesos in coins. Now, let's say that the price of the item now is 103. It used to be 100, and then eventually it's going to be 106. Okay, so it used to be 100, went to 103, and then 106. This means that last year you paid for it with a 100 peso bill, and then 100 pesos plus 3 coins, and then 106 plus 6 coins. Now, the purchasing power of your 100 pesos seems to decline over time, especially if the prices of goods keeps going up. Let's say you want to buy the same item year after year. You bought the item last year, you keep on buying the item this year, and you will still buy the item next year. But last year, you were able to buy the item with a 100 peso bill. This year, the 100 peso bill is not enough. You have to add 3 coins, 3 pesos more. Why? The 100 peso bill is no longer good enough this year. For next year, your 100 peso bill is definitely not going to be enough. You're going to have to add 6 coins to be able to buy the same item that you normally buy every year. It used to be that you could buy it with a 100 peso bill. Now the 100 peso bill is not enough. It seems to have gone down in purchasing power. And in order to supplement the decline in purchasing power, you have to add 3 coins, 3 pesos more. Next year, you have to add 6 coins, 6 pesos more. So, Kate, if someone were to borrow 100 pesos from you and say to you, I will pay you next year with the same 100 peso bill as last year, as I did when I first borrowed the money from you, you should say, hindi pwede, lugi ako. You have to pay 100 pesos, the same 100 peso bill plus 3 coins. It has to be 103. Likewise, if somebody borrows for you for 2 years, when the money is returned to you, it should not just be 100 peso bill. It should be 100, that 100 plus 6 coins, dapat 106 para fair. No, so take note that you were able to buy the item last year for 100 peso bill. It was good enough to buy the item. This year, the 100 peso bill is not enough to buy the item. You have to add 3 coins. And therefore, the purchasing power of the 100 peso bill has gone down to 97. For next year, the 100 peso bill will not be enough. You have to add 6 coins, and then you notice that the purchasing power of the 100 peso bill has gone down to 94, gone lower. 100, 97, 94. Okay, so why is that so? Because the cost of living keeps going up. Last year, the item was worth 100, and then it's worth 103, and then it's worth 106. Your money purchasing power, it used to be 100, 100, and then now it's 97, and then it's down to 94. The purchasing power has gone down 197 to 94. Purchasing power of money is a concept. It doesn't appear on the money per se. It appears on the calculations. So what's the meaning of inflation of 3%? What's the meaning? What's the impact on the purchasing power of a 100 peso bill? It means that your 100 peso bill looks the same year after year. But after 3% inflation, the value of that 100 peso bill should be divided by 1.03. You have to divide it by 1.03, and the answer is 97. 97 is the purchasing power of that 100 peso bill. It still looks like 100, but it's not worth 100. It's worth only 97. Next year, that 100 peso bill will be worth only 94. Where'd you get 94? 97 divided by 103 is 94. And that 97 came from 100 divided by 103. You can also get 94 by 100 divided by 1.03 and divided again by 1.03 to get 94. So your purchasing power in 2 years of the 100 peso bill has declined to 94. And the bond is an instrument to protect you from your value of money going down to 94. It will keep the value of your money at 100. Here's another example. I started by giving an example of 5% inflation, which means that you divide the purchasing power of 100 by 105 each year. But mistakenly, I started to use 1.04 in the example. So let's stick with this and use 100 divided by 1.04 gives you 96.14. And divided again by 1.04 gives you 92.44. There. Yeah, so 96.44. There, so 96. So this is the first decline, and here's the second decline, 92.44. Why do we have to account for inflation? Because prices constantly rise, and it's measured by the consumer price index. The prices of a basket of goods normally bought by households, soap, sugar, fuel, they check the prices of those items year after year and see how much is the basket going up. It used to be 100, then 103, and then 106, 110, 112, etc. The prices of jeepneys used to be 10 centimos in the 1970s, and now it's much higher. Okay. So to counteract the devastating effects of inflation and the lower purchasing power of money, the government bond was introduced to attract people to lend money to the government, and in return, the purchasing power of their money will be preserved. So let's say the government says, I need money for the next few months or next 6 months or 2 years. I'm going to borrow for in this example, 5 years. I'm going to borrow money from the citizens for 5 years. I'll take your 1,000. I'll pay you 30 pesos interest per year. The 30 peso interest is called coupons of the bond. And then 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, and then I will return to you the borrowed money, which is 1,000, when time is up on the 5th year. So on the 5th year, you get 30 plus 1,000. Every single year, you get 30, 30, 30. Now, this works well when interest rates are 3%. And this works well when inflation is 3%, because even if you divide 30 by 1.03, and you divide all these numbers by 1.303 and shrink them by 1.03, it's still going to be 100. I mean, in the example of this 1,000 peso bond, your money will still be 1,000. Okay, so here's the math. Let's say that the government borrows from you 1,000 and pays you 30 per year. 30, 30, 30, and then it returns the 1,000 at the end of the 5 years. So you get practically 30 per year plus 1,030 on the fifth year. Now, um, the inflation rate is 3%, so the 30 pesos is going to shrink over time divided by 1.03. Okay, divided by 1.03 here. 30 divided by 1.03 is 29.13. 30 divided by 1.03 twice is 28.28. 30 divided by 1.03 three times is 27.45. Three times because it's the third year. On the fourth year, divide 30 by 1.03 four times, you get 26.65. On the fifth year, you divide 1.1030 by 1.03 five times, and you get 88.49. Now, if you add all of these discounted cash flows, discounted because they were divided by 1.03, they're called cash flows because they're the money that you receive, whether coupon payments, also known as interest payments, or the principal repayment, which is the 1,000 coming back. So all this money coming in is called cash inflows or cash flows for short. So the investment that you made was a 1,000 for this bond, and in the end, you retain 1,000 pesos. Okay ba? So despite the despite the ravages of inflation, which cost you to shrink the purchasing power of your money by 3% per year, in spite of all that, you still made your money grow 3% because of the 30 paid out every year. And then the increase of 3% minus the decrease of 3% equals just level. So your 1,000 pesos remains 1,000 pesos. Okay, it's fair. What if new bonds are issued at lower interest rates? A lower interest rate means that they're issued at 20 peso coupon instead of 30 pesos coupon interest. So your old bond is still there. It's still paying 30 pesos per year, but then interest rates went down. So you will now divide the values, the cash flows of 30 and 30 and 1030 by 1.02. And you'll get these numbers: 2941, 2827, 26.64, 24.61, 932.90, and the value of all that will be 1041.83. Now, the value of the old bond, which pays 30 pesos per year, is higher because interest rates have fallen to only 2%. What did we do? We just divided all these cash flows by the 2% interest rate. Earlier, we were talking about inflation rate of dividing it by inflation rate. But the principle, I mean, the math works the same way. Whether you're dividing it by the inflation rate or dividing it by the interest rate, basta you're dividing it by numbers to make it smaller in order to get the real value of your money. Like the purchasing power equals the real value of your money. Real value also means market value, what people are willing to pay for that bond. And what people are willing to pay for that bond has gone up to 1041.83. So this means that you bought it at 1,000 and now it's worth 1,041.83. You can now sell that old bond at a higher price because it's more desirable. Why is it more desirable? Because it still pays 30 when all the new bonds are paying 20 pesos per year. Okay. So this means that when the interest rate drops from 3 to 2%, then you will divide all these cash flows by 1.02, not anymore 1.03. And because of that, the old bond, which pays 30 peso coupons per year, even if you divide it now, you divide all those 30 peso coupons by 1.02, not anymore 1.03, then the resulting numbers will be bigger than before because you're dividing the same 30 peso coupon by a smaller number, 1.02 only. So that's why the value of the old bond went up to 1041.83. 41.83, and you can sell the old bond for a profit of 41.83. Okay? So that's why many people turn to bonds when interest rates go lower. And also, B, if the stock market is disappointing or threatening to go lower, so they shift their money to bonds. When more people want to buy bonds, it means that the demand for the bonds goes up and the price also of the bonds goes up. Okay, that's the end of the lecture. And then here is the additional appendix if you want to learn more about bonds. Here's an example of a Philippine government bond in 1922, valid to be paid back up to 1952. It's a 30-year bond. And then on the left side are coupons. You cut off the coupon and bring it to the Department of Finance, and they give you the money on the amount of the coupon. What is a government bond? It's a loan that is 100% sure to be repaid to you. It's actually the government borrowing 1,000 pesos from you for 5 years. It pays interest of 30 pesos per year. And on the last year, you get back your 1,000. This is the government borrowing money from the citizens. Now, if the interest rate in the country is 5% and the bond is yielding 3% a year, giving a coupon of 30 divided by 1,000 bond value, then the bond is not desirable because you're hoping it would pay 50, it's only paying 30. The interest rate in the country is now 5, and this bond is only yielding 3% a year. So the price of this bond logically should go down. Now, if the interest rate in the country is 3% and you find a bond that's yielding 5% a year, giving coupons of 50 per year divided by the initial bond price of 1,000, then that bond is desirable because it pays 50, not only 30. The price of this bond, which pays 50 per year, is going to go up. This bond is desirable. Okay? Because you're going to earn 5 and not just 3. So what happens to the price of a 5% coupon bond? In the beginning, it's 1,000. 50 divided by 0.05 gives you 1,000 mathematically. And then if the interest rate goes down to 3%, then 50 divided by 0.03 gives you 1,250, higher value for the bond and also higher price correspondingly. Meanwhile, if the interest rate goes up to 6%, from 3 to 6, then the price of the bond will will decline, decline to 833. When interest rates go up, the bond prices decline there to 833, decline to 833. That's 50 peso coupon divided by 0.06 gives you 833. So, and then eventually the bond price may still fluctuate, go up and down. And then in the end, when the bond is on its last year, it always goes back to 1,000. Because the promise is that whoever borrowed the 1,000 from you will definitely pay you back 1,000 on the last year of that bond by promise. Okay, other info, aside from government bonds, which are 90% of all the bonds in the Philippines, there's also corporate bonds, companies that issue like San Miguel Ayala Corp, PLDT. They borrow money also from overseas in US dollars as well as in Philippine pesos. For example, the company borrows from you 1,000 for 5 years. It pays you 50 pesos per year. You redeem the 50 coupons per year. And in the 5th year, you get back 1,000. Sometimes corporate bonds go by the name of short-term commercial paper. Sometimes they're called promissory notes where there's no yearly coupons. You just pay back the entire principal amount at the end of the time allotted. And if a bond runs for less than 1 year, it's sometimes called money market instruments. Here's an example of a retail treasury bond, which goes for 5,000 pesos per bond. So it's a lot cheaper than having to shell out 1,000,000 pesos per bond, because the big customers of the Republic are usually the big banks and the big insurance companies who want to buy these bonds. They even go to various cities to do a roadshow explaining the merits and benefits of investing in these bonds. Keep your money safe from inflation for the next 15 or 20 years. So what happens is the national government issues bonds because they're lacking in tax revenue or customs duties, but they still need to pay money for their government operations to build roads and bridges. So they issue a bond, and then the underwriter says to the government, "I promise that I'll sell these bonds. If I don't manage to sell all of them, I'll give you the money that you wanted to raise." So the underwriter sells the bonds to all the citizens. The citizens have their money, uh, pay for the bond, and all that money goes to the national government. The underwriter promises to sell all. Okay. Who's the where's the origin of these treasury bonds? Usually the Bureau of the Treasury, they issue the treasury bonds, which are 3 years to 30 years, and the treasury bills, which are less than 3 years. Sometimes 1 month, sometimes 3 months, 9 months. There's also the Development Bank of the Philippines, which also issues its own bonds. And then lastly, what influences the price of the bonds? Well, it's the supply and demand for money. If there's a high demand for money, you'll have a high interest rate, and a high interest rate will cause the bond prices to decline. If you have a low demand for money, you'll have a low interest rate, and that somehow will cause the bond prices to rise. The interest rate will be found which balances the price or the cost of money, so that those who want to buy it will be able to buy it. If they really want to buy it, then they say, I bid a higher price. Okay, then we'll sell it to you. And those who want to sell uh, will also will have to say, I want to sell at this price. Nobody wants to buy. Okay, I'm going to lower the price so that people will buy. So the interest rate adjusts due to the market mechanism, people buying and selling from one another. The buyers want to pay as low as possible, but sometimes they have to pay more in order to get the item that they want. And the sellers want to sell as high as possible, but sometimes they have to charge a lower price in order to be able to sell their product. Okay, good luck and Happy New Year. Cheers.